I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Patagonia Refugio Daypack 30L, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. This bag definitely has a sportier look to it, so if that's something that you're into, this is going to be a great option. It's also a good hybrid bag if you like doing hikes where you're going to be carrying a lot of gear. This is a 30-liter option, so for me as a day pack form, it's a little bit overkill. They do have a 26-liter option if that's what you're interested in, but it has a few different design features, so they're not an exact one-to-one comparison. But we're going to be looking at the 30-liter in this video here. As for external features, we've got a couple attachment points on the front face here, just kind of where the elastic is woven through. You can also use a carabiner to attach some additional items if that's something that you're into. Otherwise, this elastic here is a good spot to put I don't know, any item that you want to keep locked onto your pack. If you maybe you're outside walking around and you have a rain jacket and it starts raining and then it stops and then you take the rain jacket off, you can shove it here instead of putting it in your bag. So have some options here. I don't find this super useful. I actually find elastic, the elastic on the front, the bungee latching, a little bit more annoying than anything. But this didn't really get in my way otherwise. Sometimes it got caught on my door if I was using it to prop open my door while I was opening up the second door, something like that, but more of a nitpicky thing than anything. As for other things, we've got the Patagonia logo right here. It just says Patagonia. It's very subtle. I think that's what I like about this, at least this colorway. It does come in a couple different options, but I like this one because it's a very sleek look to it. And then up at the top here, we have a carry handle. So this here doesn't have any padding or anything. It's not particularly soft. It's not uncomfortable though, but it is low profile. So this is something where you're really only just gonna be quickly grabbing it by this, but it also does fine if you wanna hang this off the hook on the back of a bathroom stall or at your desk or something like that. This works really well for that, so that's great. And then we also have compression buckles on either side here, which you can use to attach or to secure down larger gear in these water bottle pockets, which we'll talk about in a second, or you can use it to lock down the fit a little bit, but it doesn't do any massive, shifting to the actual design or the profile of this bag. But it is made with quality materials, only a couple blemishes up at down at the bottom there. It's kind of a mix between a polyester ripstop with a PU coating, kind of recycled polyester around here, just overall, and then some nylon as well. The harness system is pretty basic. We don't have any hip belts or anything like that going on here. We do have a sternum strap that's a nice and easy, very simple buckle to just open and close it. This is Duraflex buckle, and it's not on a rail system. These are individual loops, so if you wanted to adjust the height of the sternum strap, you do have to take it off completely. I don't mind this because it really is a set it and forget it. I do prefer a rail system just because it's easier to do, just because this can be a little bit obnoxious. I also really have short nails right now, so it's kind of hard to get underneath there. But really, it truly is just set it and forget it, so that's nice. But with the shoulder straps here, you can see that the padding or the material on the underside is kind of curved around here, and that's so it doesn't rub up against your neck and really bump it with a seam or anything like that. So that adds comfort. This is a very soft material. It's not it doesn't feel particularly breathable, but you do have a air channel here to help with breathability. I do think that the padding here does a good enough job though. With the size of this pack and the amount of gear that you're gonna fit in here, it's not gonna get overly heavy. So I felt that this was very comfortable. It just wasn't anything, super thrilling. It's contoured well to fit to my body. You'll see it on in a second. But I do like that there are load lifters here. I feel like that's something we don't usually see on a pack of this size or with this functionality, but it does help take a little bit of weight off. This is the pack when it's on my body. They say that this is suited for 19-inch torsos. However, I found that this was still very comfortable for me. I have a 16-inch torso, and that's a pretty significant difference. I think the biggest thing is that it doesn't really feel like it's butting into my lower back or hitting too far down. And then also the load lifters and the sternum strap do a really good job pulling that weight up a little bit. So I don't really feel like it's dragging me down. I don't feel like it's dragging me backwards. It just feels like it contours pretty nicely to my body. So I would say that the carry is pretty comfortable. looking at the shoulder straps on, they're not overly wide, so they're not bumping into my shoulders. They're not so wide that they're bumping into my neck either. So I do feel like even if you have a smaller torso, it still can be pretty comfortable. Obviously, maybe if you're shorter than that, this could feel a little bit large, but I think in general, it does carry comfort pretty well. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Looking at the additional storage options for this backpack here, we have 2 water bottle pockets, which I briefly mentioned earlier. These do a pretty good job at fitting, I don't have a bottle with me here now, unfortunately, but these do a pretty good job at fitting like a standard 26, maybe up to a 28 ounce bottle. And even smaller is still good, but you can see that it's like a little bit, the elastic here is a little bit on the looser side. So I would say small bottles, while they do fit comfortably in here, I would say that this is very well suited for large bottles just because of, how much stretch there is here. It does a really good job at expanding to fit those. If you were concerned about a smaller bottle, you could just loop the top carry handle. Sometimes they'll have a loop. You could loop it through the this little compression strap here, and then it would stay in place a little bit better. Or these compression straps are really good if you wanted to carry a tripod or something like that, that can help lock that down, or a yoga mat if it packs down small enough. Some travel yoga mats are able to do that. So you do have options, but they functioned well enough for me. Also, I wasn't throwing this backpack around like crazy, so I didn't have any issues with mine falling out. Mine's 28 liters, or ounces, not liters. If I said liters earlier, I meant ounces. As for other pockets on this bag, we have a quick grab pocket on the front. And so this one is where I put items that I used often, like a battery bank or my phone, or I have my keys and a wallet in here. So this kind of functioned as just like a dump pocket. This goes down to about here, so your items aren't going to get lost at the very bottom of this pack. If you do, when you do open this main compartment, if you have a lot of items in here, it can start to feel really heavy and weigh down the bag. So I would recommend packing the inside compartment first and then going to the outside compartment. But this does have a lot of its own individual packing space. So you can see the zipper, this is where the main compartment starts. All of this area here is for this front compartment. So you can really load this up with items, even a toiletry bag, if it's small enough, can fit in here, if you were using this for a weekend trip or something like that. So you definitely have options there. And then, another thing I really like about this bag, if you have things arranged properly on the inside, it does stand up on its own. So that's a huge selling point for a lot of people I know. And then for the laptop compartment, so this opens only about this wide. We do have a removable laptop sleeve in here. It's hooked through a little hanger that is designed for a, if you have a hydration pack, you can hook your hydration pack here so it hangs in there, and then feed the loop through here and then attach it to your strap. So if you wanted to switch this to a hiking bag, you definitely could, but it also does a good job holding this thing in place. So this is removable. It holds it's rated for up to a 15-inch device. I have in here, it's just a Velcro opening. I have in here a 16-inch MacBook Pro 3D printed model, obviously, and that fit in there. So it really just depends on your advice. I personally have a 13-inch MacBook Pro and it fit in here with room to spare. So, just depending on what you have, that could go well. And then we also have some compartments on here. I didn't find myself using these because when I was in this compartment, I didn't want to have to stick my hand all the way down or have to unhook this every time I wanted to take it out. So I ended up just there's enough space in here where you could either just drop your device as is. It actually has a bit, or maybe not, no, there's no false bottom here. If you wanted to do a additional laptop protective case or something, you could fit that in there, or I just dropped my tech pouch in there and I still had space to spare. But otherwise we have some pockets here. This is the only place where there is a key clip, a key leash, so that wasn't super convenient for me personally, just because it was so buried in there. I just put it in that outside pocket. But there are some pockets here for a charger and your cable if you wanted to just put all of your tech in one specific spot. Now onto the main compartment. They say that this is the largest main compartment in the Refugio lineup, so if you want that main compartment space, this is definitely going to be a good option for you. It definitely feels roomier than 30 liters to me personally, so we'll take a look at that right now. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, there is a bike loop on the bottom here if you wanted to attach a bike loop, but I do want to draw attention to the bottom in general as well. I have the inside packed out fairly well, but what's down at the bottom isn't rounded, and so it doesn't actually make the front of this pack rounded out. Like it kind of flattens down weird here. Let me see if I can actually just stick my hand and show you. So basically it opens up at the top, but if I were to have like, I don't know, let's say like all of this technically is like wasted space, but it's not space that I personally needed to use right now. So you could end up with kind of like a flatter look, but I don't think that looks bad. It just kind of like folds up. So I don't think it's really the end of the world, but kind of more of an aesthetic thing than anything. As we're getting into the actual compartment itself, we have just like nice paracord zipper pulls on here. And then I believe these are YKK zippers. So it opens in that kind of like half moon sort of like it's not quite clamshell because it only goes halfway down, and it's not quite top loading because you get more visibility. But I do like this because the way that this is designed, you can see it kind of like it zips toward the back. It creates a really nice bucket shape. And you can sort of like layer things up as you go. And then once you get to the end, like this is a tech pouch. Let's say it's a toiletry bag though too, like you have a good amount of space there. It just feels like everything kind of like fits snug in there. So I definitely like that without feeling like it's like a really large bucket or something like that, because the way with the zipper being back here, it's nice to be able to unzip it from the top and just like, let's say it was unzipped halfway. You can sort of do this and grab your item. Whereas if it was a bucket shape and went all the way to here, you'd have to kind of like reach your hand in order to grab your item, if that makes sense. But I think that kind of just speaks to this bag being a really good like hybrid bag, being good for everyday carry, being good for like a weekend trip, or if you wanted to take it hiking. Like I mentioned, it is 30 liters, so it does start to feel a little big if you don't need that much stuff every single day. I definitely didn't pack it out every day, but in here I have, these are 2 shirts, that's 3 shirts there. I have a pair of jeans, and then I have another pair of pants. So 3 tops, 2 pants, a toiletry bag, let's say. And then down here I have a size 10.5 men's shoe. So these actually fit side by side. This is like what I was talking about, where this area is kind of that empty space. And in order to, I just didn't want to like butt something up against the bottom of the shoes. These are shoes that we use in the office, so they're not dirty, because otherwise I would use a shoe pouch. But you can definitely just like shove, like when I use this as an overnight bag, I just shoved like as much clothing as I could down at the bottom here, and it rounded out nicely. So aesthetic does, change a little bit depending on what you have stored in here, but you do have really, really good visibility. There's no pockets or any other storage in here. So a couple of notes here. This is what I mentioned when you have a bunch of gear, let's say, phone and wallet in here. It can just be kind of heavy. So you are sort of fighting against the weight of everything in the top of the pack while you're loading it up. So I would, like I mentioned, just recommend putting that stuff in last. And then the other thing is that if you have the laptop sleeve in there and you have things in these pockets, it's going to show through. Like you can see my brick there. And so I noticed that even when I was loading this pack up, like it kind of cut into that space. But you really can't store enough in here that it's going to cut in there significantly. It was just, I think it's something worth pointing out if that's like a huge deal breaker for you in terms of utilizing all the space. So if you want a lot of like really detailed organization, you're not going to get it with this bag, because it really is just a lot of open compartments, but it does feel very roomy if you want to utilize cubes and organizers that you already have. I think it's a great option. So there you have it, the Patagonia Refugio Daypack 30 liter. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.